The rain poured relentlessly over San Francisco, veiling its iconic skyline in a somber gray. Aria Sullivan pulled her worn jacket tighter against the cold, her grip on Lila's small hand firm as if to anchor herself in the storm. The streets glistened with rainwater, reflecting the faint glow of streetlights, a stark reminder of Aria's struggles, cold, relentless, and seemingly endless. After losing her job as a sous chef at a bustling restaurant, Aria's days blurred into an endless cycle of interviews and rejection letters. Every closed door seemed to echo louder than the last, pushing her closer to despair. The eviction notice pinned to her apartment door earlier that week had only deepened her sense of urgency. Lila, her 6-year-old daughter, was the sole reason she hadn't given up. Aria had promised herself that no matter how dire things became, she would create a better future for her little girl. A glimmer of hope finally arrived when her friend suggested an unusual opportunity, a live-in nanny position with a wealthy family. The job would involve caring for Theo Montgomery, an 8-year-old boy known for being difficult. "The pay's fantastic," her friend had said, "and honestly, you've got nothing to lose." Taking a deep breath, Aria accepted the offer, unaware of the challenges and unexpected connections that awaited her. The sprawling Montgomery estate loomed ahead, perched high in Pacific Heights with a commanding view of San Francisco Bay. Aria and Lila stood at the iron gates, their modest appearance contrasting sharply with the grandeur before them. "Is this where a king lives?" Lila whispered, her wide eyes fixed on the enormous mansion. "Something like that," Aria replied, brushing a damp strand of hair from her face. Taking a deep breath, she pressed the intercom button. Moments later, the gates opened with an almost ominous groan, inviting them in. The front door was opened by Elliot Montgomery, Theo's father, a tall, composed man in his late 30s. His tailored suit and precise movements reflected his life as a successful financier, yet his eyes carried the weight of exhaustion, a man grappling with the demands of his work and the loss of his wife. "Ms. Sullivan, welcome," Elliot said, extending a hand. His tone was polite but distant. "Thank you, Mr. Montgomery," Aria replied, shaking his hand firmly. "And this is my daughter, Lila." Elliot's gaze lingered on Lila for a brief moment, his polite smile barely masking the exhaustion etched into his features. "Please, come in," he said, stepping aside with a practiced composure. Inside, the house was even more imposing. Vaulted ceilings, polished marble floors, and walls adorned with priceless art. Yet, to Aria, it felt cold and uninviting, a reflection of its inhabitants. As they entered the sitting room, an audible crash echoed from the second floor. Elliot pinched the bridge of his nose. "That," he said with a sigh, "would be Theo." Seconds later, an 8-year-old boy appeared at the top of the grand staircase. His dark, curly hair was disheveled, and his eyes sparkled with defiance. "You must be the new nanny," Theo called out, leaning over the banister. "How long do you think you'll last? A week, 2? Aria met his mischievous gaze with calm determination. "I guess we'll see, won't we?" Aria quickly learned that Theo Montgomery wasn't going to make things easy. From the moment she arrived, he tested her patience, refusing to participate in lessons, knocking over his breakfast, and avoiding any meaningful interaction. But Aria was no stranger to challenges. She watched Theo closely and noticed the small details about him, his precise arrangement of toy planes, his habit of sketching when he thought no one was looking, and his quick glances at the family portrait on the living room wall. One rainy afternoon, Aria decided to try a new approach. She brought a wooden airplane model to the dining table. "I thought we could build this together," she said, looking over at Theo, who was sprawled on the couch. "I don't care about that," Theo muttered without looking up. "Good," Aria replied casually. "I'm probably going to mess it up anyway." That got Theo's attention. He sat up, giving her a skeptical look. "You'll probably break it." "Probably," Aria agreed with a shrug. "But maybe you can stop me." After a long pause, Theo shuffled over to the table. They worked together in near silence at first, but slowly Theo began to explain how to assemble the pieces. By the time they finished, Theo had a small, satisfied smile on his face. Meanwhile, Lila became a bridge between Aria and Theo. One sunny morning, she tugged Theo outside to play in the garden. "Let's build a sandcastle," she chirped, holding up a small bucket. "That's for little kids," Theo grumbled. "So?" Lila grinned. "I think it'll be fun." Reluctantly, Theo joined her. Soon, the two were building an elaborate fortress, complete with towers and a moat. Lila's cheerful praise of his ideas softened Theo's usual guarded expression. That evening, Arya found Theo's notebook tucked under his desk, filled with imaginative sketches and stories. When she mentioned how talented he was, Theo snapped, "You weren't supposed to see that." Arya held up her hands. "Sorry, but you're amazing, Theo. You shouldn't hide this." Later that week, Theo hesitantly shared one of his stories, a tale about a brave boy protecting his village. Arya listened intently, her heart swelling with pride. One night, after Theo had gone to bed, Arya found Elliot sitting alone in the study, a glass of whiskey in his hand and his gaze distant. "I know that look," Arya said gently as she stepped into the room. Elliot glanced up, surprised. "What look is that?" "The look of someone who's carrying too much." Elliot exhaled deeply. "You think I don't know how much I've failed, Theo?" His voice was raw. "I'm trying, but it feels like nothing I do is enough." Arya sat down across from him. "You haven't failed him, Elliot. But I think Theo needs more than your effort. He needs your presence." Elliot's brow furrowed. "I've got so much on my plate. The company, the house. How am I supposed to balance it all?" "You start small," Arya said. "Theo doesn't need grand gestures. He needs to know you're there. Whether it's helping him with a story, playing a game, or just sitting with him. It's the little things that build trust." Elliot looked at her, his expression softening. "I don't know if I can be the father he needs. Not after losing Claire." Arya's voice was steady but kind. "Losing someone doesn't mean you stop living. Claire wouldn't want that for either of you. And Theo doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to show up." Elliot nodded slowly, the weight of her words sinking in. "You're right," he said after a long pause. "I've been so focused on not making mistakes that I've forgotten what really matters." That weekend, Elliot took the first step. He joined Theo and Lila in the garden, helping them build another sandcastle. Theo seemed hesitant at first, but soon warmed up, offering his father ideas for the design. Watching them together, Arya felt a flicker of hope. Brick by brick, the walls around Theo and Elliot were beginning to come down. Just as things were beginning to settle, the harmony in the Montgomery household was disrupted by the arrival of Cassandra Montgomery, Elliot's older sister. Cassandra, an impeccably dressed and sharp-tongued woman in her mid-40s, had a way of filling every room with her commanding presence. "I'm just here to check on Theo," she announced one morning, stepping into the kitchen where Arya was preparing breakfast. Her tone suggested she had more than casual curiosity. From the start, Cassandra scrutinized Arya's every move. Her polite smile barely concealed her disapproval. "You've been here a few weeks now, haven't you?" Cassandra asked, her voice dripping with false warmth. "And how's it been? Managing Theo? He's not an easy child." Arya chose her words carefully. "Theo's been doing well. He's creative, intelligent, and incredibly resourceful. I feel lucky to work with him." Cassandra's smile tightened. "Interesting. Though I'm not sure someone with your background is prepared to handle his unique needs." Tensions escalated when Cassandra began planting doubts in Theo's mind. During her visits, she lavished him with expensive gifts and spoke in hushed tones about how she could provide him the care he deserves. "She says I could live with her," Theo told Arya one afternoon, his tone uncertain, "that she has more time for me than Dad does." Arya's heart sank. She knelt down to Theo's level. "What do you think about that?" Theo shrugged. "I don't know. She says Dad's too busy, and maybe she's right." Arya took a deep breath. "Theo, what matters is how you feel. You have every right to decide what makes you happy and safe. But I hope you also remember how much your dad loves you." The situation came to a head when Arya stumbled upon an old letter hidden in Theo's mother's desk. Written by his late mother, the letter expressed her concerns about Cassandra's overbearing nature and her attempts to control family decisions. "She means well," the letter read, "but her interference often causes more harm than good. I fear for what she might do if Elliot ever needed her help." Arya shared the letter with Elliot, who tightened his jaw. "This is exactly what she's doing now. I won't let her manipulate Theo." With Cassandra now filing for custody of Theo, Elliot and Arya knew they were headed for a confrontation that would test their resilience and Theo's trust. The courtroom was cold and imposing, its high ceilings and stern decor reflecting the seriousness of the custody hearing. Arya sat beside Elliot at the defendant's table, her hands folded tightly in her lap. On Elliot's other side, Theo sat with his sketch pad clutched in his hands, a quiet determination in his eyes. Across the aisle, Cassandra sat with her lawyer, her posture impeccable and her expression calm. She looked every bit the composed and caring aunt, but Arya knew better. Cassandra's lawyer began the proceedings, painting Elliot as an absentee father, too consumed by his high-powered career to care for Theo properly. Arya's role as a live-in nanny was framed as further evidence of Elliot's supposed neglect. "Mr. Montgomery has delegated his parental duties to a stranger," the lawyer said, gesturing toward Arya. "Theo deserves a stable, family environment, something my client, Cassandra Montgomery, can provide." When it was Elliot's turn, he spoke with quiet conviction about his love for Theo and his efforts to balance work and fatherhood. "I've made mistakes," he admitted, "but everything I do is for my son. I'm learning, and I've built a home where he feels safe, supported, and loved." Arya was next. She approached the stand, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "I'm not here to replace Theo's father," she said. "I'm here to support him. Elliot has been present and engaged in Theo's life, and Theo's progress speaks for itself. He's thriving because he knows he's loved, both by his father and by the people around him." The most pivotal moment came when Theo was called to testify. He hesitated at first, glancing nervously between the judge, his father, and Cassandra. Arya leaned down to whisper, "Just be honest, Theo. Say what you feel." Theo took the stand, his small frame dwarfed by the large chair. Clutching his sketch pad, he began to speak. "I like living with my dad," he said, his voice trembling but clear. "And with Arya and Leela, they make me feel safe, like I can be myself. Aunt Cassandra is nice, but it feels like she wants me to do things her way, not mine." Cassandra's lawyer leaned forward. "Theo, do you ever feel like your father doesn't have time for you?" Theo frowned. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But he always tries. He plays games with me and listens to my stories. He loves me." The judge nodded thoughtfully, then turned to Cassandra. "Would you like to respond?" Cassandra stood, her calm facade beginning to crack. "I only want what's best for my nephew," she said, her tone measured. But clearly Elliot's influence has confused him. Before the hearing ended, Elliot's lawyer presented the letter from Theo's mother. Its words, combined with Theo's testimony, painted a clear picture of Cassandra's history of interference. After a long deliberation, the judge finally ruled in Elliot's favor. "Custody will remain with Mr. Montgomery," she declared. "The child's well-being and wishes have been made clear." A wave of relief washed over Arya as she turned to Theo, who broke into a shy smile. "You were so brave," she whispered. In the weeks following the court's decision, life in the Montgomery household transformed. The once quiet halls now echoed with laughter and warmth. Theo, who had spent so much of his young life guarded and uncertain, now thrived in the love and stability surrounding him. Arya took special care to nurture Theo's creative talents. One evening, she surprised him with a sketchbook embossed with his initials. "For all your amazing ideas," she said, her voice gentle. Theo beamed, hugging the book tightly. Lila, too, became an integral part of Theo's world. Their friendship blossomed as they explored the garden together, played make-believe games, and built forts out of blankets and pillows. "We're a team," Lila declared one afternoon, and Theo grinned, a rare and genuine expression of joy. Elliot, for his part, worked to rebuild his relationship with Theo. He adjusted his work schedule to be more present, dedicating time to playing board games, helping with Theo's stories, and simply being there. "I'm proud of you," he told Theo one evening after reading one of his finished stories. Theo's eyes sparkled with gratitude. The turning point came during a family outing to the beach. Under the warm sun and gentle sea breeze, Theo took Aria's hand and said quietly, "I'm glad you stayed." His words carried a weight that left Aria speechless. She crouched to his level, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "I'll always be here for you," she promised. As the stars blinked to life against the velvety night sky, the Montgomery garden glowed with soft lantern light. Elliot stood before Aria, his gaze steady and filled with emotion, ready to speak the words that had been forming in his heart for weeks. As Aria accepted his proposal, Theo and Lila clapped and cheered. From that day forward, the Montgomery household became more than just a house. It became a home, filled with love, trust, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow.